Good afternoon. This is TTT Live and the TTT Live online on Facebook. I am Dike Rostant with a COVID-19 review. The Chief Medical Officer has addressed concerns over persons who have recovered from COVID-19 and developed symptoms once more. CMO Dr. Roshan Parasram said that Trinidad and Tobago's medical protocols for treating patients must cover all bases, and patients must be monitored continuously.
So we have a very rigorous discharge criteria, which we followed for all the cases that were discharged. Post-discharge, 7 days after discharge, the CMOH would have been following up each case for 7 days every day, finding out if they had any further symptoms, that sort of thing. They continued that follow-up up till last week. I asked them to do a check on all the cases that would have been discharged, and they did so. They got onto most of them, and none of them, barring one person, would have actually had any symptoms. It was
Now into our conversation. Now, individuals may find themselves shifting careers due to the disruptions caused by COVID-19. Now, from making masks to cooking, persons are being forced to creatively look within themselves. And this may cause an expansion in people formalizing alternative revenue streams. With that in mind, they may seek logos, branding, and design needs that they may not have previously considered. We're happy to be able to speak with Ayrïd Chandler. She's a graphic designer based in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, after graduating from Savannah College of Art and Design, she had a short stint with an outdoor furniture design company before returning and having longer tenured positions with Above Group and Lonsdale Saatchi & Saatchi. She currently runs her own outfit, Ayrïd by Design, where she is the chief cook and a bottle washer, and her design niche is branding. Good afternoon, Ayrïd. Thank you for being a part of this. I want to start off with a question, though, of factors. What factors should we be mindful of when conceptualizing a brand?
Hi, DK. Thanks for the introduction. Well, there are certain questions that I like to ask clients whenever we start working on a project, and it kind of helps set the tone and things that you should think about when you start working on a project. First of all, I mean, what is it that you do? What is the service or product that you're providing? Important things to note is what problem do you solve? Because when you figure out what problem you solve, you're better able to communicate with your audience how you can help them, right? Other things that I take into consideration, who is your brand for? It's important to know who you're trying to reach and who you're appealing to, because that's how you know who to talk to. Because at the end of the day, branding and design is visual communication. And the last thing that I usually ask folks is, what message do you want to convey to the people who interact with you? How do you want them to feel when they see your logo or when they hear about your brand? What is that feeling that you want a customer or a client to get?
Now, there's a saying, more haste, less speed. I can imagine the position of some people saying, okay, I need to get this now. I don't have the opportunity, I don't have the time to deal with these questions. How do you speak to a person like that?
Well, I tend to ask them, like, how is this a one-time thing? Is this something that you just need for this specific day? Or is this something that you're going to be using for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years? That will determine how we treat the project. If it's usually events are fast-paced because it's an event, it has a specific deadline, it's one time, and then it's done, right? A logo or brand is a little bit more than that because it has to last a lot longer. So it's important to try and take at least a little bit of the time to put in the work beforehand.
What's the minimum amount that's necessary? Does someone need more than a logo or more than a logo on one social media platform to get that message out there, to put themselves out there, them and their service?
Honestly, it depends. It depends on the project. It depends on the client. So, for example, someone who's a hairdresser will figure out, okay, they're doing a specific type of hair. They'd figure out where that platform would best suit them. So, for example, that would be best on Instagram, somewhere where they can post images of their clients as well as reach a wider audience. Whereas Facebook is more for more engagement in terms of comments, etc. And you also reach an older target audience on Facebook. So it depends on what you're looking for. Twitter also offers you to dialogue constantly with everyone, and not just locally, but regionally and internationally. So each platform has its perks. And with regards to if you need just a logo, again, it depends on your company, on your project. Typically, no one ever just needs a logo. Typically, if someone wants a logo, it's because they want it for a call card, or they want it for a signage, or they want it for social media presence, or they want it for a label. Logos tend to not just exist as just a logo alone. So again, it goes back to asking those questions. What is this? What is the service I'm offering? What problem am I solving? And who am I talking to? And that kind of helps answer those questions.
I now want to go back to the question, chicken fire, in the sense that somebody said they need something quickly, they need it, and they're hasty with it. And this brings me to the reason we're having this conversation, because I saw you post some stuff on Instagram. And I'll ask you, what is the difference between a graphic artist and a graphic designer? And what would influence a person to seek one instead of the other?
So this is a very controversial question and topic. Technically, and like if we were to go like in like textbook definition, a graphic designer is someone who has been formally trained, whereas a graphic artist is someone who knows how to use the design programs. That's the technical aspect. But really and truly, the difference really boils down to the service and what you're looking for. Design and art, if you look at just the two words, they are different things. Design is structure, design is grid, design is rules, whereas art is emotion, art is response, art is feelings. And the two can be each other. The two do intertwine with one another, but basically a graphic designer is meant to be a visual communicator and a problem solver. And so you would go to a graphic designer for a little more than just a logo. You would go for a graphic designer to figure out how to develop this brand of yours, how to use your logo. Because a lot of the times you go to graphic artists and you will get a logo, you'll get a cheap logo, you'll get it really quickly. But then what do you do with it, and how do you use it? If you don't know, then you kind of feel a bit lost, and may not always get what it is that you're looking for.
Another reason that we're speaking is that we're in the context of the disruption caused by the COVID pandemic. And we may see some people because they want to, some people because they have no other choice, moving from being an employee to being their own boss. And with that in mind, I want to ask you, what are some of the lessons you learned in transitioning from an employee to an independent service provider? And that can be just as that is, or also with regard to how it is you brand yourself.
Right. Well, the first thing that I learned is that when you work for someone, you have other people doing a lot of the back end work. Whereas when you work for yourself, you are now everything, right? You are now the accountant, you are now the lawyer, you are now all of these different parts. And there's a lot more that goes into it than just doing that thing that you want to do. So like for me, I'm a graphic designer, but I have to do so many other things other than just design because I run my own business. So that's on that end. On the design or the branding end, at the end of the day, human beings, we like stories. We connect with stories, and a brand is your story. So in starting out now and doing your own thing, just tell your story. That will do most of the work for you. It's more powerful than a logo. It's more powerful than anything else. Just tell your story to your clients, and it will get the job done.
So someone is trying to is trying to engage you to help take their story forward, how do they do that?
I am on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I also have a website. It's my business name, which is ayrydbydesign.com. You can also find me at ayrydchandler.com. I feel like I have a unique name, so once you type in Ayryd, you should find me on any platform.
All right, so we want to thank you so much for taking the time and carrying us through this process. And hopefully we are able to make use of some of the information that we got from you. And we continue, yes ma'am, and we continue with a look at the effects of COVID-19 in the region. Now St. Lucia has announced a phased approach to reopening the island's tourism sector beginning June 4, 2020. Phase 1 of the reopening includes welcoming international flights at the international airport from the United States only. Minister of Tourism Dominic Afedi says the strategy protects nationals and visitors from the threat of the coronavirus through advanced testing, daily screening and monitoring of staff and visitors, sanitization at various points throughout the traveler's journey, and new social distancing protocols. Now, earlier this week, St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chastanet said the country is more than prepared to deal with the virus.
So I'm very proud to say that St. Lucia today domestically is ready to coexist with COVID, and I think that persons should feel comfortable to go out to do their work, but certainly to be reminded at all times to practice the social distancing and the protocols that we've put in place. The hygiene, wearing a face mask, staying relatively far away from each other.
The director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Carissa Etienne, says the coronavirus pandemic is surging across the Americas. On Tuesday, she said both cases and deaths from COVID-19 rose by the same magnitude in a week. Dr. Etienne warned the hemisphere's authorities that slowing the spread of the pandemic depends on protecting the estimated 221 million vulnerable groups of poor people, indigenous communities, and women.
It's necessary because we can't stop the spread of the virus if we don't focus on all those affected by it, including vulnerable population. It's also our responsibility because everyone has the right to health, to access testing, treatment, and care, regardless of who they are or where they live.
There are close to 70 active cases of COVID-19 in Guyana. Director of Primary Healthcare Services at the Ministry of Public Health, Dr. Hortensia Hamilton, is worried that the numbers will continue to climb if citizens do not follow the preventative measures in place.
We currently have 46 persons that have recovered. Recovered cases refer to persons who were affected with the disease and who now have been cleared, with 2 negative results 24 hours apart, and no signs and symptoms of the virus. These individuals can no longer infect others. However, they can be reinfected if they do not take precautions.
Bermuda's cabinet has agreed to take a 12.5% pay cut. Premier David Burt said revisions to parliamentary pay will be tabled in the House of Assembly. Speaking at a media briefing on Tuesday, he said following cabinet's meeting and after conversations with both the government's backbench and the opposition, they will be leading from the front and do what they've asked public sector workers to do. Ministers, members, and officers of the legislature have all agreed to the pay cut. And that is what's trending on COVID-19. Remember, you can join us for live coverage on TTT, Talk City 91.1 FM, Sweet 100.1 FM, Next 99.1 FM, as well as on Facebook at TTT Live Online for all your COVID-19 updates. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of the TTT crew and Dike Rostant, bye for now.